Hello. Um, so I just wanted to try making a little FPL video, but first I wanted to show off my sister's dog that I'm looking after. She's called Mabel, and she's very, very cute. And I'm just putting her on the camera because you're super cute, aren't you? And you don't know what's going on. Just sitting there like a lemon. Say hello. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Come on then, I'll put you back down there. You can go play with your toys. Anyway, I wanted to show off her dog because she's very cute. So I wanted to make a video about FPL because I just got loads of random thoughts. I haven't scripted this or thought about it much. I'm just going to kind of rant. It's game week 10. It's been a tricky one. It's been the last couple of game weeks has been tricky to figure out. I've gone a bit kind of lost. I feel like the start of the season had all these high hopes, all this enthusiasm, and then my rank was doing alright, and then for about game week 3 to about 3 to like 7, I just plummeted all the way back down to like 5 mil, which is like crap. And thought I was doing alright. You know, team was getting like pretty good points every week, but it seems like everybody else is doing even better. But it's early days and stuff, and I did see one graph on Twitter that said the average amongst the top 1,000 FPL players or something this season is actually ranked really high in the millions as well. So maybe it's not that crazy, but I don't know. I find the game fun anyway, so we'll just see what happens. Yeah, but I lost my way a bit. I think almost I almost feel like I don't want to touch my team because I feel like every time I touch it, it backfires and I ruin it. And I started the season very gung-ho, very full of hits, full of kind of taking risks and stuff. And now at this point in the season, I feel like I've become... I'm really kind of craving just solid, safe picks. Pick 90-minute men on penalties, solid, that I can just stick and set and forget. I'm really kind of craving those kind of picks, and then just... I don't want to keep chopping and changing. This idea of chopping and changing between the mids, I'm almost tempted to just find good picks and stick with them now, because you get stung with that sometimes. Maybe not. Maybe some people would say that is the way to play though, if you follow the fixtures. And this is the part of the conundrum this game week, because you got Tottenham players who are heading into a tough fixture run, and Arsenal players, West Ham players, maybe Brighton players. Fixtures are changing. And there's this sense of like, the past is the past. The future. I mean, how do you play FPL? I almost feel like I want to keep Maddison and Son. There's part of me that wants to keep them, but is that the past? And I have to kind of jump onto the next. It's about predicting the future in FPL, isn't it? And so Saka and Martinelli, maybe you're trying to get the next good player. But I'm not sure if it's quite like that, because Maddison and Son are such good picks. But maybe Tottenham have just had a good start. I don't know. It's really hard FPL, like trying to predict what's going to happen next. I do have my model, and that is the kind of way I try to kind of figure it out, because that's looking at the fixtures ahead and doing all the maths to work it out. So that's projecting it. So I'll get into that in a minute, but. Yeah, so yeah, it depends how you play. So this game week, this is my team at the moment, and I've got 2 free transfers, 0.6 in the bank. Still got my wildcard in my back pocket if I need it. Probably I wasn't planning on using it this game week, and if I did end up using it, it would be a right old... I've got the whole sunk cost. I'm deep in sunk cost at the moment, because I could have made so much more. I've missed loads of price rises. I could have done a punt last game week, so it'd be a waste to use it. But that's not the right way to think. That's not the right way to think, is it? The past is the past. It's gone. You can't do anything about it. The question is it more beneficial for me to use it now than any other time? So the question, you can still use your wildcard, I think, but there is a part of me that kind of doesn't want to use it now, because it will make that seem like a mistake, my past. Whereas if I don't use it now and I save it later, it might make my decisions look better, and I don't think that's the right way to think. I think you should just, if it's the right time to use it now, just use it now and forget about the past. It's done. But knowing me, at the moment, I'm probably not going to use Wildcard. I'm going to save it till 19, and I don't really know if that's worth it. I've just got this vague feeling there's a whole bunch of things happening around about game week 19. There's a lot of players coming back, and Kunku might be back by then. De Bruyne maybe. We've got AFCON coming, and Mbomo's going to be off. Salah's going to be off to AFCON. You've got the blank, possible double in 20. There's a lot of things that I just wonder might coincide, but if you actually go through and think it through, at that moment, I'm not sure a wildcard's actually going to help that much, because a lot of people are going to be preparing for the blank anyway, and the same as me, we're all going to be in the same boat, getting rid of our players for 18. Maybe I can get rid of all of them, including Haaland for 18, whereas other people might have to keep Haaland because they want him back in 20. Things like that, but there may be some advantages. But then getting rid of Salah and Mbomo, I think Salah you're going to want. I think you can get rid of Salah fairly early. Where are the fixtures? Game week 20, Salah's got. In game week 18, Salah's got Arsenal. Then he's got Burnley in 19, Newcastle in 2020, and then he's off to AFCON in 21, I think. So I don't know. I haven't thought it all the way through. I've just got this vague feeling that I might get lucky and I'll use. I don't need it now. I might save it till later. And plus the fact that I'm pretty sure my second wildcard next half of the season, I'm almost certainly going to want to use it during the chip season, during the doubles and the blanks, which is quite late. So the later I can use it now, the better. And there's still lots that can change in the game. So I think I'm going to try and save it. But so this game week though, there's some big decisions to be made. And there's two glaring omissions in my team. I don't have Watkins and I don't have Saka. I don't have Trippier either. That's three glaring omissions. Emissions? That's not the right word, is it? Omissions. So there's six big players that everyone's talking about at the moment. Haaland, Watkins, Saka, Salah, Trippier and Son, isn't it? They're like the big six. I've only got three of them. I think most people have like 4 or 5. Some people might have 6. I've only got 3 of them. And I can't really get to Watkins or Saka without... I can get to Saka. I can do Maddison to Saka. But it's tight. And I can't really get to Watkins without taking a hit. I think there was a way I could get to Watkins at one point. I could go to Lascelles and I could do Watkins. I can't do Lascelles now. There was a point when I could have done that. If Alvarez goes up before Watkins goes up, Lascelles gone up as well, hasn't he now? So yeah, I really can't do that unless I take a hit. I can do Tsimikas, Botman to Tsimikas, and then I can do Maddison to Saka. Exact money is an option, but I'm not sure I love that. I think, was there another option I could do? I feel like there was another thing that I could do. Was it Estepinian to Tsimikas and then... Oh, hang on, what have I done here? Tsimikas. Can't get him there. 7.8. Maybe it was Bowen. I was looking at. Diaby to Bowen as another possible option. But I'm not sure about any of it. So the first thing I've got to do in my team, I've got these 3 red flags in the defence. I've got to clean it up. I'm going to have to make a defensive transfer. So I've got 2 free transfers. The first choice I've got is Tsimikas or Guehi. And I guess most people are going to think Tsimikas. Probably more upside. But my model for the next 6 game weeks has got Guehi as higher up. My data for Tsimikas, I don't really have much data for him. So I've been using Andy Robertson as a kind of like guide for what I can expect, because Tsimikas is his understudy basically, really. So you wouldn't expect Tsimikas to do better than Robertson. He was a 90-minute man. He started every game, finished every game, 90 minutes. Tsimikas is probably going to be like a 70-minute man, which sometimes can be a good thing, because you might be able to get those clean sheets before they concede at the end. but then it's also a risk because if he gets taken off before the 60-minute mark, you'll end up with a 1-pointer. But that's probably good upside because it's rare that players get taken off before that 60-minute mark. More often than not, it's 60 to 80. So you could say that's a good thing that Tsimikas has got that. His XGI, as far as I know, sorry, I always burp in these videos. The XGI, as far as I know, Tsimikas' XGI is like as good as Robertson's. It's like 0.2-ish. I'm pretty sure you can check on FBref, but I'm pretty sure it's about the same. So it's good. They've got good fixtures. But according to my model, like Mark Guehi's right up here. Well, not miles up, but like 28 points. Robertson about 25 points. And I mean the XGI, if he's only playing 70 minutes, that's going to take a notch off. That's like I don't know, 70-80% of that. So you've got to take a notch off of that. Their fixtures are good. This is my FDR, and I might talk about this later, but 0.27 is positive. Anything up to about 0.5 to 1 is good, and anything below minus 0.5 to minus 1 is bad. They're on 0.27. It is good fixtures. But this model takes into consideration that. That's not a separate thing, so it's already taken that into consideration, and it's putting Andrew Robertson there at 25.32 points over the next 6 game weeks. My model is like I'm 90% confident in it. There's sometimes I find things that I've got wrong, but maybe 95%. So usually it's right. So I'm like, why is he down there so much? And why is Mark Guehi up there? Now he's got good fixtures as well, not quite as good as Liverpool's, but they've predicted him up here. I mean, he's had 4 clean sheets so far. His XGI is actually 0.12. That's his form. So it's about 0.1-ish, which I'm not really expecting much from him. But he is still got to a 0.1-ish XGI, which is, I guess he comes up for headers occasionally, for corners. So, and there's just something about Mark Guehi. I mean, so Johnston, the Crystal Palace goalie, has been one of my favourite picks. He's still only under 2% owned. Nobody's talking about him. He's the highest point scorer out of all the goalies so far. He's had 4 clean sheets. I love him. He's just been like the best. He's like, him and Salah are the best decisions I went with on game week 1, and I almost feel like I want another piece of it with Guehi. Maybe that's part of it. And I'm also looking at, so game week 10, he's got Tottenham at home, and it's like that's not a very good fixture. But then he's got this run of like Burnley, Everton, Luton, West Ham, and Bournemouth, and I really like that run. And the fact that my model is predicting him a good sorry, I've got to look over here, haven't I? Yeah, so it's where is he? 27 points, and Robertson's on 22 points. That says 90% because I've actually changed that manually. Yeah, that's my manual changing because I'm thinking Tsimikas, I've given him like a 90% chance of starting. Robertson was on 100%, but there is this kind of risk that Tsimikas might not start a game. He might get rested or something for one of the games. I feel like he probably wouldn't. He will get rested in Europe or something like that. But might find out tonight. They're in Europa. But he's already predicted less points. And then even if he gets a rest, that's going to make it even worse. And it's like, so why has he predicted such low points? I think most people, when they think of FPL, they just do it with their intuition, and they're looking at this and thinking Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest at home, Luton away, looks beautiful. Brentford at home, they could get a clean sheet. Okay, Man City away, scrap that. And then Fulham at home, Sheffield United away. It's just great fixtures, isn't it, on paper? It looks really good. Whereas Crystal Palace against Burnley away, maybe, but then Everton have been playing it a bit better. They've got Luton. West Ham have got some attack. They might score there. Bournemouth. So maybe it just feels a little bit worse. Maybe 3 clean sheets in there. But it's still predicted high. I don't actually know why it's predicted high. It might be just because he's getting more points than Robertson so far this season. Let's have a look at the defenders. Guehi's on there, 35 points, and Robertson's not even there. He has 26 points. So maybe he's just not been doing it, and the XGI as well. I don't know. My model's a bit complicated, but it's I do tend to trust it. And so that's just making me wonder. He is up there. And the defensive scores, season XGA, XGC of each team. Liverpool are doing pretty good, 1.29 over the whole season. Palace 1.44. They're kind of just in the top half. Not as good as they were last season, but still doing all right. And I still feel like at the end of last season they were doing all right. Palace, that's actually puts them quite low there. I didn't notice that. Have I done something wrong? I'm sure they were kind of a bit higher up. But their recent form, when you adjust it for the fixtures, 1.61, so it's not great. Oh, I suppose it's because they got whooped 4-0 by Newcastle, didn't they? And they've maybe slipped up a little bit. Crystal Palace. So yeah, that's a decision I've got to make, and I haven't made it yet. But I'm tempted to go Guehi just to be different. There's something, again, it's something in my mentality at the moment of like the community, the FPL community, and everybody jumps on a player, and I just want to go a little quiet route where nobody knows, and it's nice and safe and simple. That'll do, and I get these little points and nobody notices. There's almost this feeling of like, I like that with Guehi. He'll just quietly notch up the points and nobody will notice. But maybe. So I'll have to think about that. Anyway, that's enough on Tsimikas and Guehi. There's a few other players I might be able to get to. Anderson, but I'm tight for money. So up the top then is like, you've got these decisions with Maddison and Son to Saka, Alvarez to Watkins. So my model, if you go from game weeks 10 to 15, let's do the whole thing again. These are the top players that my model picks out. So Salah's at the top, 53 points. Haaland second. Saka is very high up, and I want to talk about Saka in a mo. Saka's high up on 42.6. Son 42.0. So they're very, very close, those two, according to my model. Let's just check I haven't changed it, because I was playing around with the numbers. I have changed it. Hang on, that's not true then. I have to kind of do this. This is what my model originally picks out. So let me do that again. I started adjusting it and tweaking it for my own, to what I thought was more realistic. But so my model has Salah top, Saka second, really high, 46.57 points. And that's just making me, I'm a little bit skeptical of him being so high, but maybe I shouldn't be. But then Haaland's third, Son's fourth, 42, Trippier fifth, 38 points. Ollie Watkins, 38 points. They're both on like 38 points. Forget Sven Botman. I think his data's a bit skewed because he got that 12-pointer, and I think he's a little bit skewed, but he's probably a bit lower down. He is still good though. Mbomo is up there. That's interesting. His XGI over the season 0.8, and his form is 0.6 still. So he's still like a really good player. So and my model, when it runs it through his fixtures, even though they've got quite hard fixtures, he is still coming out really high. And in the harder games, he quite often plays in a front two, doesn't he? I believe is like a second striker kind of thing. So I still like Mbomo. Odegaard's high up there. That's a bit weird considering his XGI has been 0.38-ish. But I guess because they're playing such easy fixtures, it bumps him up quite high, apparently. Not Martinelli, though, for some reason. I don't know why Martinelli's quite low down. 0.23. Don't know. Bowen's up there. Alvarez is still up there. Maddison's up there. And then you got some of the others. So, what did I want to say? So, I mean, I've just got these questions of like. So basically, I've been going through it, and I've been. I tell you what I want to talk about is. I started thinking about wildcarding, and what I did was I stuck a non-Haaland draft in, because all these people going without Haaland. I should have done this weeks ago, just put it in my model just to see what it would look like, and I didn't do it because I just assumed that it wouldn't work out, because at the start of the season people were talking about Mo or no Mo, and when I put Mo in the model it seemed to come out a lot better, so I assumed it would be the same with Haaland. Usually better to get more premiums than less, and I just thought, didn't look at it. Anyway, I've looked at it now, and the Haaland drafts are coming, the no Haaland drafts are coming out a lot better. like 30, 40 points over the next 6 game weeks. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Now, it might be that the data is skewed somewhat because of recent, Haaland's been really poor recently, and a lot of the other players have been really good, Trippier and Watkins and stuff. So you have to kind of consider that, but you also have to watch. I'm having to watch my own mind as I make these decisions. Of am I just, because there's a part of me that just doesn't want to wildcard, especially with the sunk cost of not using it so far, missing out on price changes. I don't want to wildcard yet, and so there's almost, I've got to watch out for my own psychology, trying to make excuses for like, no, I don't need to wildcard, and so it's tricky. But oh, my computer's slowed down. There it is. So that got me thinking, and then I started thinking, well, maybe I should just do it then. I know I'll forget about the past. Maybe I should just wildcard. 30 points, it looks pretty good. But then I started looking into it with a little bit more detail. And so there are certain players, and I can't remember what I did now, but there are certain players who I think are underperforming and certain players who are overperforming. Haaland, I think, is slightly underperforming. If you look at I basically bumped him up. He's on 7.2 points per game. That's his average. That's his like baseline average before it's run through the filter of the fixtures that are upcoming. 7.2. I bumped him up to 7.5. I thought, I fancy Haaland's going to get a bit better. He's been a little bit underperforming. I fancy he'll get there. I could bump him up to 8, but I just thought, well, let's just bump him up to 7.5, see what happens. Saka, my only problem with Saka is like, so he's on, like, what is he on? 0.75. Sorry, burping. Hang on. Pardon me. 0.75 XGI, his form. Season 0.79. Really high. Great numbers. And all of the other players like Odegaard, Martinelli and Jesus are quite low. 0.3s and 0.2s and stuff. And I find that interesting because last season, Arsenal tended to spread the points. And they tended to have phases where there'll be a phase where Martinelli smashed it in, and then another phase with Odegaard. Jesus had some good phases. He got injured, didn't he? But they tend to have phases, and I'm wondering whether another one is imminent and they're going to start spreading the points again. And I'm wondering whether Saka at 0.75 XGI is sustainable or not. Now, this could be me trying to convince myself that it's not such a bad thing to have him. So I've got to watch out for that. But Saka, if you look at FB Ref, Saka Rooney, he's the last 2 seasons he was like 0.5 to 0.6 XGI. It looks as though his finish, he almost looks as though this could just be the natural evolution of Saka. He's only 21. It could just be each season he's just getting better and better, and it looks like his finishing is getting better. Last season, 0.56 XGI, but he actually got 0.71 actual goals and assists. So maybe this is just him getting better. 0.78 now, 0.9. Maybe it's the new Saka. And there's a part of me that thinks, why not punt on that? It's still worth punting on, even if he does go back to 0.56 or whatever. He's still a good pick. So yeah, and he is a good pick. He's a great pick. But I can't quite get to him. So basically I thought, well, let's just have a look at Saka and say, well, let's imagine he goes back down to like 6 rather than 7. I think I put him at 6. His average goes down to 6. I mean, he was only averaging 4.6 last season. So 6 is still saying, I'm still saying he's going to be doing better than he did last season. So I think that's fair. I could put him down even lower, but put him down to 6. And then Watkins is another one that maybe I'm convincing myself, but he seems to be overperforming a little bit. And if you go to Watkins, Watkins is FB Ref data. He's on 0.75, so he's doing better. Now, that 0.75 XGI, I actually think is legitimate because it's ever since Emery's come in, and there's something's changed, and I think it's fair, and I think that's sustainable, and that's to stay. But him performing at 1.17 actual goals and assists, that's the bit that I think I'm not sure I can trust that, because every other season he's always either underperformed his XGI or not really overperformed it much. From what I've heard, Watkins has never been considered a good finisher, and he's just took off penalties this season, didn't he? Probably partly for that reason. And I've heard other people say that, you know, some of his assists have been a bit fantasy assists, a bit jammy, and so yeah, I don't have an expert view on it, but that's my hunch, is that he's overperforming a bit, getting a little bit lucky with some of the points he's got. So, and if you look at that, like his actual FPL points is in the 7s and the 8s, but his XGI is in the 5s, and I don't know if he's going to continue that. So I think I can't remember what I put him down to as well, but it's probably like a 6 as well. If I just bump him down to a 6, I mean, I could do 5.5. Let's just bump him down to a 6 and say he's gonna regress a little bit to the norm, which is still good. And remember, this isn't taking into consideration the fixtures. That's going to bump up his numbers more once he plays easier games in the model. Trippier looks like he's overperforming a little bit. And I've heard some people say the same thing again. And am I just convincing myself out of Saka, Trippier and Watkins? Sounds like it, doesn't it? But at the same time, I think he is overperforming. So 0.44 is really good XGI. He's never done that. He's never performed that well. That could be genuine. But then the overperformance of 0.7 actual goals and assists, he's never really... Well, he did it there, look, but that's a small sample size. On average, over the last few seasons, his delta is 0. His delta average is at 0. So I'm inclined to kind of hunch that he has been maybe a touch lucky with some of his assists, and you would expect him to come back as well. So if I did that as well, where are we? Trippier. I guess I could give him a 6. I'm sure I'll give some of these players a bit lower than this. Oops, not that. That's not a 6. Give him a 6 or something like that. And then Mbomo I could actually kind of bump up. Why did I think that? I mean, he's the opposite. His XGI is actually... He looks like he's underperforming. His XGI is higher than his actual returns, especially recently. He had a run where he wasn't really returning, but might not be... should we have a double check of that? Mbomo, where is he? Oh, poop. Let's have a quick look. Mbomo, he is underperforming at the moment. Generally, he's on average he slightly overperforms, so he probably is an all right finisher on average. Probably shouldn't be including those, but yeah. So generally, he does all right. His delta's 0 to maybe a little bit above, so he is underperforming at the moment. So you could I think you could bump Mbomo up a little bit. Probably would be fair. I don't normally do these manual changes, so it's like it's interesting that at the moment because it's such a kind of weird point, this game week 10 with all these like wildcard options, and it feels like a critical point, and I can't get to a lot of these good players, and I'm trying to really figure out what I should do about it. Where is he? So Mbomo, I have bumped him up to 6 there, I think. Give him a 6 point. Or was that what you? No, that's what he already was on. So that feels maybe that is fair. Maybe we'll leave him. Leave him for now. He might be a bit better than that, but let's leave him on 6. So, and then once I make all those adjustments, suddenly the no Salah drafts don't come out quite so high, is the point. And now they're still higher, and maybe you would expect that, but they don't come out quite so high. If I was going to wildcard, there's only really like 4 changes, 4 main changes. Most of the team would probably stay fairly similar, or at least even if it's not Mark Guehi and I did go Tsimikas, whatever decision I make is going to be the same on both. So one of the big differences is this third defender. I've got Robertson in there at the moment, but it would be Udogie, probably. But Udogie's actually predicted like a really low score. Almost seems too low, but it makes me wonder whether my data's wrong on him. But Estepinian could be back later. I don't know why I put Andrew Robertson in there, but as a Tsimikas placeholder. Anyway, forget that. But that third defender slot, Trippier's probably gonna this. So if I wild card and had no Haaland, Trippier would probably be. Let me put it this way. Basically, if you go no Haaland, you do Haaland down to Watkins, and that's the loss. And you've got to have this question of like, well, how much of a loss is it? And if I leave my model as it is, it says it's like about a 12-point loss, something like that. Once I make some of these changes, at the moment it's saying in 9.22. I think I've had it down lower than that, though. I think I was a bit generous as I've been fiddling around with it now. It could be lower than that. I mean, if Haaland goes up to 8 points, which you could easily do. I mean, that was his average last season. In fact, his actual FPL points was 8.4. So if he just goes to 8, what am I doing here? Yeah, so minus 12. Is that right? Yeah, no. So originally when I did it, Haaland to Watkins was saying you're only going to lose a couple of points, which is to say Watkins is probably going to keep up with Haaland, and you're not going to lose that much. Whereas, depending on how well Haaland does, and depending on if I'm right that Watkins is overachieving a bit, it could be a loss of about 12 points. And then the question is, well, can you make that money back? And there's only really two other positions. It's Trippier and Saka. If I get rid of Haaland, I can then afford Trippier and Saka, and that will be replacing your doggy, maybe Estepinian if he comes back. But it might be like a 10-point thing extra there, and then Saka would be replacing probably Mbomo. But then again, with Saka, like, is that justified, or is he going to revert to 0.5 kind of territory, spreading the points around? I just moved him to Oh no, I haven't. I didn't move him, did I? I didn't move Saka. So Saka. Oh, I thought I did. Did I do somebody else? Did I do Son? I did Son, didn't I? Did the wrong one. So let me just do that. Oh, I did the wrong one. So Saka was supposed to be 6. That's right. Yeah, so here we go. So now it's only 3.38 points better off this wildcard draft. Saka over Mbomo would be the difference between this draft and the wildcard draft. And it's only like he's only predicted maybe 5 points more if he returns to that rate, if he comes down a bit. But again, it's a big if. With Saka, I'm really unsure about, because Saka, I feel like maybe that 0.78 XGI is here to stay. And I don't think he's over. Oh no, he is overperforming. He's on 0.9, but then he normally every season he's been overperforming a bit. So I feel like I don't know with Saka. Maybe that's here to stay, or maybe he's going to revert as the rest of the team get better. Jared Bowen is somebody who I might be able to get in on both teams anyway. I'm probably at some point going to do Diaby to Bowen or something like that. And Bowen could be Bowen or Martinelli possibly, or man alive, Odegaard. No, he probably wouldn't be Odegaard. I wouldn't be able to afford him. If I'm going to go Odegaard, I'll go Saka. So anyway, that's basically the wildcard question. Haaland to Watkins. Do you think Haaland's going to get better? Do you think Watkins is overperforming? That's the gap. And then whatever that gap is, can it be made up with Trippier and Saka? Do you think Trippier's overperforming? Do you think Saka's overperforming? Or do you think their numbers are going to come down? And do you think... I kind of feel like Haaland's underperforming a bit. I think Mbomo's underperforming a little bit. My defence is crap, so that's... I think Trippier would do better there. But... yeah, so basically I've convinced myself out of the wild card, but I don't know whether I'm just doing mental gymnastics, because then I think about Aston Villa going and playing Luton, and Luton have the worst XGC away from home, and he's gonna smash it. But then Alvarez is still there, though. Alvarez is still predicted, and you've got to think over the long term as well. Those Man City's fixtures. So this is something else I wanted to talk about, is fixture difficulty ratings, and people have fixture tickers and fixture difficulty ratings. I think is an area of FPL that feels like is an opportunity to get an advantage on others if you have the right ticker, if you think about it properly, because I quite often find myself disagreeing with people's fixture tickers. I think intuitively most people just have a kind of vague sense of the big 6 or the big 9, which is what I've done here with the colours here, so ignore those colours. This is just my crude sense, but they kind of look at the fixtures and go, oh, it's Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, Aston Villa. They're all good teams. One easy team, Bournemouth. Tough fixtures. That's it. But I want to look at the actual. So firstly, when I look at fixture tickers, I firstly want to differentiate. Have a ticker for attackers and a ticker for defenders. And then on top of that, there are some defenders who get more of their points from attacking returns than they do defensive returns. Matty Cash, Estepinian, their defence, they don't get many clean sheets, but they get all their points from attacking returns. Trippier's about 50-50. Other people like Botman, Gabriel or something, they probably get more points from clean sheets than they do attacking returns. So the defenders that get more points from clean sheets, you care more about the XG of their opponent, whereas players who defenders and then midfielders and attackers who get all their points from their XG, you care more about the XGC of the opponent. So I try to do tickers that factor that in, and I've factored it all into the model as well, so that is factored in. And then the XGC as well. At the moment, I think, and I keep forgetting because my model gets so complicated, but I think it's the form. So it's the last 6 game weeks. The XGC of all of these opponents over the last 6 game weeks. So it's this kind of table here. I don't think it's adjusted for fixture difficulty. F form XGA. So it's this one, and so like over the last 6 game weeks, Bournemouth have averaged 2.47 XGA per 90. They are shocking. Sheffield United and then West Ham as well is really bad, which is maybe just I still feel weird about everybody going for Areola. I feel like why would you go from Pickford to Areola? You just like, funnily enough, Everton are actually, they're really high. They've suddenly seem to have turned it around. So you probably want to keep Pickford. He looks like a good choice now. And even when adjusted for fixture difficulty, he's still pretty good. But anyway, 4.2 in Areola. So what was I saying? Yeah, so my fixture difficulty rating is based on this, and it adds it all up, and it's kind of complicated, but it works out the average, and then works out how far from the average up or down a team is, and then it gives it's kind of like this score of when I'm doing well, I don't know if you can follow this, but when I'm doing this prediction model, if a team is like really far from the average, like Man City's defence or something, then the player going to them, you can expect their form to decrease by about 30%. It's about up and down, so 0.3, like that. And if it's an easy game against Bournemouth or something, it'd go up 0.3-ish. And this is like the sum of all the ups and downs, 0.3s and 0.1s and minus 0.2s. It's the sum of the last, that stretch, 6 games, basically, if that makes sense. So Arsenal have really good fixtures, 0.56. But what's interesting is that so some people are saying Tottenham have hard fixtures, but they actually have marginally more positive, easier fixtures than not. It's like 0.02. So it's actually kind of average. They've got average fixtures for attackers. So it's not that bad for Sun. Crystal Palace are a middling defence at the moment. Wolves are kind of crap. Aston Villa are in this bottom half. West Ham are terrible defensively. Chelsea and Man City are good. So they've got 4 good games, 2 bad games. So Tottenham are actually not if you're worried about their fixtures, I don't think you should do. If you have a look at this is for the attackers. This is the next 6 games. Burnley have the best fixtures, which, by the way, I've heard some people talking about Lyle Foster. I've only just noticed him. He's actually doing all right, and they have amazing fixtures. And my model probably doesn't have him because I've got a feeling I don't even know if his name is in the model, or sometimes there are some players that just don't even get listed, and I don't even bother to list them. So Lyle Foster is one you might want to look at. Could be interesting. He's like 5 mil or something. Great fixtures, playing really crap teams: Bournemouth, West Ham, Sheffield United, Wolves, all like bottom half defences. Yeah, so that's interesting. Crystal Palace, great for attackers. Edouard, maybe. But again, my model doesn't really put Edouard that high, so Eze's up there, not too bad, but I think I'd steer clear of Crystal Palace. Then there's Arsenal, good fixtures, everyone knows. Brighton's fixtures are down here. So that's another interesting thing. And this is why I think, so according to my model, and you might disagree, but it's based on form again, the last 6 game weeks, I think something like that. Actually, it might be season. It's not much difference, but I think it's the last 6 game weeks. Pretty sure. Brighton are at the bottom, or near the bottom, minus 0.11. That's the sum total of all the ups and downs of those fixtures. Everton are pretty good. Fulham are not bad, actually. Fulham have been improving as well recently. Sheffield United easy. Nottingham Forest are not bad. Chelsea's pretty good. And then Brentford are kind of middling in the middle. So that's why their fixtures actually look kind of tough. So Brighton and Mitoma, you might think they've got a really great run, but maybe it's not so good. Man United are right at the bottom. Chelsea right at the bottom. We knew that with Chelsea. Is that right with Chelsea? Yeah, still got a hard run. Brentford near the bottom, but Mbomo's still up there, which is interesting. Newcastle near the bottom, and some of the ones that are at the top. Liverpool. So Liverpool are not that great either. Liverpool are about as good as Spurs according to this. And Man City's fixtures. Some people say their fixtures are really hard, but over the next 6, it averages out as just middling. Aston Villa's is averaged about just under 0.04, but that's probably because, well, Luton's a great fixture and Bournemouth's a great fixture, but Nottingham Forest and Fulham again are their defence is top half at the moment, so maybe not. And then Tottenham and Man City are both top half defences at the moment, so Aston Villa maybe is not that great a run. But again, so anyway, fixture tickets are interesting. But at the end of the day, I always just go by these points because I've got all the fixture difficulty factored into it already. It's already got all of this factored into it, and this is like the final score, the final appraisal. Why is that done that? Oh, I changed it, didn't I? I changed Saka's score, so now he pops down to 4th now. So Son is better than Saka. That's if Saka reverts back to where he goes 0.5 like he did last season, and the point spread around Arsenal, but don't know if that will happen. So yeah, I think that's like all my thoughts just spewed out. So what am I going to do? So it's probably going to be Botman, because I think I want Estepinian. I think if there's training pictures of him back, I'm going to want him back. And I don't really want to lose that 5 mil spot and then not be able to get to him again. I'm a bit cautious of that. So it's going to be Botman. It's going to be either Tsimikas or Guehi. I've got to make a decision about it. It's weird. There's this part of me that thinks, I'll just go Tsimikas, high upside. Everyone else is going for it. But it's like, that's a decision based on this vibe that I'm picking up from FPL Twitter. And if I just cut through that and go with the model, I think maybe I should just go Guehi, because I really like that run of fixtures there for Guehi. I'll play him every one. He's 90 minutes, no Europe, nailed, no worried about missing a game here or there. And Tsimikas, no worries about him getting taken off before the 60th minute. Whereas Tsimikas, I don't even know where he is. Whereas, let's just have a look at Liverpool's fixtures. They're alright. Brentford at home. Man City's the only really hard one, so I don't know. Got to figure that one out. And then I've got one other transfer. And I can either take a 4-point hit and do some gymnastics. I could do Diaby down, even though he's got Luton, or Mbomo against Chelsea. I could take the hit and get rid of Mbomo down to a Gordon, a Palmer, an enabler, and then see if I can get Watkins in or Saka. But I really don't want to lose Maddison, Son, or Alvarez. I like all of them. And this is what I was saying at the start of the video of like, I know I'm talking ages. I don't even know if anybody's listening. I'm just talking to myself here. But this is what I was saying at the start of the video of I've been craving to find picks that have that kind of like that. There are perfect picks that just feel really good. Maddison, he's so central. He's going to play every game. He's got no Europe. He's so central to everything Tottenham do. He's going to tick along. His XGI is like 0.6, 0.7ish. He's really high. Son's the number 9. it's crazy. Like, he's playing right up front. He seems to have. He's only had one bad season last season, but every other season he was 0.8, 0.9 XGIs and stuff. And he seems to be doing it again this season. We know what he's capable of. They're just such good picks, and I've got money tied up in them as well. I've got Maddison for 7.6, Son only 9.3, but I don't really want to sell him if I'm going to buy him back. I don't want to get rid of him. Don't want to get rid of him, especially with Arsenal as well. Like, they haven't been firing on all cylinders, but then they did against Bournemouth. They could show up against the easy teams, but will they spread the money around, spread the points around? So I don't want to get rid of them. I like them. They're so solid. Saka's solid though. Saka still feels like a great pick as well. So it's really just because I've got money tied up in them. If I didn't have money tied up, I might be more inclined to just do it actually. Yeah. Which is that wrong logic? It's not entirely, because what it is if Maddison goes up to 8.2, which he might, I'd have 7.9. Sell him for 7.9. If I end up wanting him back at some point and I have to pay 0.3 more, for me that is like 2 points per 0.1 is like a 6 point. I've got to add 6 points to that swing, because I do feel like somewhere along the line that 0.3 mil is going to cost me 6 points somewhere. It's going to be some player that I can't reach, and I have to go to some downgraded player, and it's going to cost me at least 6 points over the second half of the season or something like that. So I try to calculate how much 0.1 means, and it's 0.3 is probably at least 6 points ish, potentially. So is Saka going to outscore him by more than 6 points? He could, but only if he he is still about 6 points, but I don't know. Not sure it's worth it. One other option was I could get rid of Archer and do Archer to Watkins, and then do, I don't know, I can't remember how I worked it out. It'd probably still have to be Maddison, but I might be able to do Diaby and Mpomo or somebody else down to some enabling players free up front. But the thing I don't like about going to a 3-4-3 is that there's not that many options in attack. If anything happens, you got Watkins, Alvarez and Haaland, and then there's maybe Darwin, Jesus, possibly Wilson at the moment, but I think Isaac's only out maybe for 4 weeks, maybe something like that, a month or so it may not last that long. And then you get down into Wissers, Edwards, Solankis. There's not that many choices, and Darwin, we don't know if he's going to play every game yet, and Jesus hasn't really hit form yet either, so it's really just Watkins, Haaland and Alvarez. And the problem with that is if anything happens to any of them, if Alvarez loses his place, or well, he's not going to lose his place until De Bruyne comes back, but if anything happens, you just haven't got as many people to cover. And there's just so many good options in midfield, so I don't really want to do that. So I want to just stick with two. So I'm just going to stick with Alvarez and just hope that he can cover Watkins. I think Watkins will outscore Alvarez. That's probably going to happen. But I'm just hoping Alvarez can keep up with him. And then I'm hoping some of these other players, maybe Maddison and Son, will do some damage. Yeah. I think that's all my thoughts. So I might actually roll this week. I'm going to do one transfer, Botman to Tsimikas or Guehi. I might even roll and have two next game week and have a think about it. Yeah, see how Diaby gets on. If he's crap, I might get rid of him next game week. Think I've spoken enough. So yeah, I think that's all my thoughts. Just thought I'd get them out. Doggy's sleeping. So have a good day. See you later. Bye bye.